Greetings and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about black cat symbolism. When we talk about the black cat, there's a lot of negative connotations historically that come with the black cat due to the witch trials, due to political and historical events that took place where cats were tortured and said they were associated with devil worshipping, especially black cats. Women and cats hung together, a lot of negative things associated with it. So when we look up the black cat, even though due to the age of Aquarius, the black cat is getting restored back to its royal status, we can say that, we'll see that the cat is represented by death, mourning, evil, um, darkness, and loss and grief. However, we have to understand in our existence that that's not always bad, because sometimes loss and grief opens up channels and pathways in our brains for deeper understanding, and processing of those emotions, elevate our consciousness to give us a deeper understanding of life. And sometimes that doesn't have to be a physical loss. We already talked about death being related to consciousness, maybe a death of the ego, several deaths of the ego, multiple transformations, happen. And through those transformation, expansion can happen because it's like a void of energy, where new life it's new possibilities, new things could be built from that emptiness. So being empty or having death or a loss is always a chance for new life to expand and grow, which happens consciously. New ideas, new perspectives are formed that help you on your personal journey navigate life way better. So the black cat is very sacred, and that's why when you see ancient Kemet, which they incorrectly call Egypt, you'll see that Bastet is a goddess of fertility who's also depicted as a black cat. She's a goddess of fertility, childbirth, women's secrets. She was also considered a demi-deity, and she protected the crops because she was associated with the moon. As we know, still to this day, the almanac is published every year with the moon cycles in it, and farmers that are successful farmers that have passed on this knowledge to their generations, how to farm, they use the cycles of the moon. So, Bass is associated with the moon, and the moon is in darkness and then it becomes in full light. So there's a duality of that goddess and a duality of the black cat itself that shows that even in loss, something new could be born. Even in emptiness, something that gives the opportunity for new growth. Obviously obviously Bass is not only associated with the moon, she's also associated with Saturn because of black. And Saturn is the great teacher. Some of the worst, horrible things that we experience in life, the most heart-wrenching things, teach us the greatest lessons. And we expand through those lessons and grow and make better decisions that actually align more with who we are. Because what's happening is when we're here to evolve, because this is the school of life, because Earth is a school and Saturn is here to teach lessons. And that's what Bast is about. Bast is associated with that energy. You also see when we look at like the death card, because more of the modern connotations associated with death and rebirth are associated with Pluto. However, Pluto is a newer asteroid slash planet. So anciently it was Saturn. However, when you look at the tarot card, you'll see death is depicted as a card with skulls. Skulls are not negative always. They do represent toxicity, but they also represent ancestors. And sometimes ancestral curses and patterns can be very toxic to um, our environment, inner and outer, and to other people, if we don't realize how they're out of balance and how those old ways need to be shifted and changed and adjusted. So when we look at the death card, even though it's associated with Pluto, it still goes back to Saturn because Saturn rules over skulls. It rules over ancestors, which skulls actually represent ancestors too. Um, and that's why you see still in modern day Mexico, which was also Mexico anciently, but it was more expanded. You'll see during the Day of the Dead, they'll pay homage to the ancestors, and they always use skulls because that is what it represents. So there's a lot of beautiful and deep hidden or clandestine information associated with the cat, and why there was so much scrutiny, because people don't want to look at the nasty things or the toxic things that are created. And when you look at duality, the realm of duality has yin and yang, and you have to look at the darker aspects in order to move through the darkness. You have to look at those things, dissolve those things, and birth new light, new information, because light is information. So this black cat, I mean, it's the cat is, especially the black cat, it needs to be appreciated and understood for what it represents. So just the cat in itself, right? They're nocturnal beings, meaning they like to be up at night. A very interesting thing is that the cat has the slitted eyes. And actually, when the eyes are slitted, it means they're trying to constrict light, meaning that they don't want too much. If it's too bright, they want to constrict the amount of light that's entering their pupils. And when it's darker, when there's less exposure, they expand their eyes so that, and expand the eyes so that they can be exposed to more light. And that's always what you see, like in the modern day gratitude concept, as if no matter what you're going through, always focusing on the things that you're grateful on, always focusing on the things that you can control. Even when there's so much darkness around, you focus on what you do know, what you can control. And that's focusing your intention on what is light. Because the things that you can't control, there's a lot of uncertainty around those things. There's a lot of uncertainty around things that you can't control, and it's just this great mystery. And us as man, we find it difficult to exist in those states, even myself. So it's good to focus on things that you can't control, and also focus on the lighter aspects and bringing more lightness to your life when you are going through the darkness. And that is, the cat is showing you that wisdom and just the way that its eyes operated, right? The eyes operate, showing you that to when it's dark, you want to expand. You want to find ways to expand so that more light can get in, so that you have information. Or even in knowledge, when you don't know something, expanding to find out more information, challenging yourself to know more. So when we talk about, just even the cat's existence and the way that its eyes expand and retract, that shows duality and balance and a way of life that actually should be lived if one wants to stay in a state of homeostasis. So another thing that's interesting about bass is that, well, first of all, actually, before we go back to bass, let's talk about the number of cats. I thought about the number of cats during this because I grew up always having cats. I'm like the original cat lady. I was like a cat lady at a young age. People used to just give me cats. Like if they found a cat, they're like, Mia, I found a cat. Here you go, and just give me cats, and I would graciously accept. So I just always remember that my cats always had 4 and 6 litters. That's very symbolic. When we think about 4, we think about a number of stability. 3 is the first thing that creates a pattern. You need 1, 2, 3 to make a pattern. That's the first pattern. Then when you get to 4, that pattern is actually stable. So when we're talking about even in odd numbers are instability, and even numbers are stability. So 4 is a number of the builder. And the cats typically have 4 to 6. And we know that 6 is associated with balance as well. Just like sits, which they want you to think is negative, is 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, and 6 protons. Balance associated with the planet Venus. And Venus is the second benefic in our sky that brings great things to us. Well, when she's in our negative aspect, she can bring deceit, but in a higher aspect, she brings balance, law, good contracts, and she can show you open enemies as well. When we talk about the cat is also demonstrating, even in its fertility, when it's giving birth, 4 and 6 is the standard number that it's vibrating at, which are even numbers, which show that the cat represents balance and bringing balance into all aspects of life. And then we already see that connection when we talk about the way that the cat's eyes dilate and expand based off of light exposure or lack of thereof. So that's powerful. Another thing is Beset is actually derived from ornament jar, which is canopic jars that were used in Kemet, where they preserved and internal organs of the deceased during mummification. We talked about this before, that those 4 organs are considered gods, and you'll see that in Kemet, that's what they consider the organs as, gods and deities. And then tying in that information, you look at the Han Dynasty and the science behind Qigong and how the organs in your body are associated with deities as well, also associated with animal spirits, the tiger, crane, bear, monkey, and deer. And then you also see that in the canopic jars where they have 4 different deities and one head, which is a man head, which we are deities, whether you know it or not, are associated with that. The canopic jars are also being depicted as animal head / man. So there's a big connection there. I think I'm going to make a separate podcast about that, but I need to do more research. However, this shows again that Basset is also about life and death and also the afterlife in general, because that's what that process was about. Preserving the organs, and mummification was about preserving people, preserving royalty after death so that they can cross over into afterlife. And that is something that can happen here. You can die and have a death of perspective, and you're born into a new life, a new perspective, a new way of existence. That's new life. So, yeah. So that's pretty much the black cat. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yep. That's about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know how long this was. Oh, 12 minutes. Um, Basically, to bring it all back full circle, the black cat has duality in its meaning. It means luck, fortune, good luck, impeding pregnancy, and it also means death, mourning, evil, magic, and dark. Evil, well, I don't want to say evil. Let's eliminate that word evil. It also represents death and mourning, loss, and grief, because we do understand that there's a duality, a duplicity that exists on earth that cannot be ignored because you experience it every day. So there's not really a good or bad. It just is. This is the process of life. And the black cat itself symbolizes the process of life, the cycles of life, and also is associated with pregnancy, which goes back to women and how sacred women are, because she actually gives birth and has 9 months, actually a total of 10 really, where she carries a child going through different cycles during that period, and also the child being downloaded with those heavenly energies from above each month that it is in its mother's womb. So this is a deep topic. I mean, I could go on, but I'm going to stop right here. I'm reaching my time. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that was clear, because there was a lot of information and a lot of connections. But long story short, do not fear the black cat, celebrate it. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Much love, much peace, and much enjoyment.